Good morning and welcome to the Oliveboard platform. My name is Marut Sharma, your logical reasoning expert, and I'm here today to start this new series, this new batch on for the RRB Group D exams, right? So today's session is just the beginning session, is just a starting session, and I'm not going to extend it for very long. But I just want to discuss the overall, exam pattern and lay specific focus on the reasoning section. How and why is it important? And how are we going to strategize, how are we going to categorize it, and how are we going to approach each topic of logical reasoning, which is going to enable us to ace in the examinations. Now, when I start, let me tell you that I have seen multiple types of students, multiple categories of students appearing for these examinations. So a major category of students is, so they are smart students these days. What they are doing is they are parallelly attempting a lot of exams. They are parallelly preparing for a lot of other examinations, and RRB Group D is one of them. So they aim to just get a government job, and they are simply attempting giving the examinations parallelly. So SSC, Railway, anywhere, anything, multiple exams, so that they can land a job somewhere. So their preparation is very comprehensive. Their preparation is like that we are preparing a base which is common in all the examinations, and then when we are reaching closer to our exam, we are becoming more exam specific. But then there is another category of students who are focused on examinations just to get an experience. They are not interested in the job. They are not interested in the posting. They are just taking an exam experience because they cannot, so they want to sit for some other exam. So they want to maximize the benefits of the kind of questions, the kind of atmosphere an actual exam offers. So for them, it's just like another mock, right? And the third category is the category which sees fewer applications actually for such examinations, where the student actually is interested in pursuing only and exclusively RRB Group D. And being very brutally honest here, right? So those are the students who need to buck up, who need to push well, because you have tough competition, and some people just they take up the jobs and then eventually do not report for it. So there is a lot of gap and loss there which needs to be covered. Anyways, coming back to the point, so you need to decide which category you are in, and your streamlined preparation has to be accordingly molded. Okay, but anyways, starting with today's session. So if I talk about the general pattern, right? So it looks very long. There are 4 stages through it, but actually the examination stages are quite less. So stage 1 is a computer-based test consisting of subjects like quant, reasoning, general science, and GK current affairs. Okay, so these sections are covered with a certain weightage which is assigned to each question, each type. I will just show that to you also, right? So this is a decisive battleground. Basically, this is where everything is going to be decided, everything is going to be finalized. Going there, from crossing this comes the physical efficiency test. Okay, so this is qualifying in nature, but you need to go through this because RRB Group D actually is a lot of field jobs are involved where it is physically toiling. It is in comparison to RRB NTPC where it's a lot of sitting job, desk job. This is more physically involving. So you need to go through a physical test. Then is the stage of document verification, and then are the medical tests to go through the regular fitness standards. This is how a typical RRB Group D examination cycle looks like, where this stage is of primary importance. Then of course each stage is important, but this one is where everything is decided. Now if I look at the pattern, generally this has been followed for quite a long time now. 30 questions in the logical reasoning section, 25 questions in the general science section, 20 questions in the general awareness section, and 25 questions in the quant section. Technically now, a lot of students, how they look at it is, like this. They look at it in this fashion, that general science and general awareness, they combine this together and they say that 45 questions, so the major bulk is coming from this section. But they fail to understand that these 45 questions have 2 restrictions. Number 1 is that there is a vast syllabus to cover for these 45 questions. And number 2 is that this complete section in itself is very low on accuracy. So 45 questions visibly appears to be a large number, but unfortunately when you sit for the actual exam, you might not be able to attempt a lot of them out of it, right? So this becomes a disadvantage. Okay, so this cannot be a power factor for a lot of students, but of course it is very important. Then we switch to mathematics 25 questions and intelligence and reasoning 30 questions. If you combine them as a unit, they become more important, 55 questions in the examination. But why are they more beneficial overall? Because as a subject, if you go through them, comparatively limited syllabus, okay, much formula based, much concept based, much logic based, and you will be able to get answers and you'll be able to attempt more questions. But within these two sections, if I talk about, this can be a high accuracy section, but it is always going to be a medium time section. These are going to be low accuracy, low time section. That means or low accuracy, high speed sections. That means you'll be able to go through them at a high speed, but accuracy will be low. You'll be able to go through this at a regular speed. Accuracy will be accuracy can be high here, but this becomes the most beautiful, the most attemptable, the most attractive section out of all, because 30 questions, high accuracy, high speed. So this is the perfect combination. Now of late, if you observe, the reasoning section has been quite easy, quite basic in a lot of senses, and a lot of students are taking offense to that why is reasoning so easy, and then eventually they drop studying reasoning altogether. Whereas if you understand, reasoning becomes the hot favorite for a lot of newcomers as well, because this is the section where most of them almost instantly can start applying the logics and getting answers. Whereas for the others, you need to build some ground, right? What does that lead to? That leads to reasoning becoming so important that the toppers, the cream, aims for 100% score here, which is achievable. And that is where the difference comes up. Why? Because students who don't consider this to be a very important part of their preparation, what they feel is that I know some basic reasoning, and even if I don't put in that effort, out of 30 I can easily attempt 24-25 questions, not a problem. You think that's a very good number. Unfortunately, that's not. Okay, the cream is aiming for 100%, and those 5 questions can actually be deciding factor. So hence you need to put in slightly more effort in the reasoning section to master it completely. Okay, that is what we are looking for. Okay, going forward, so yes, this I have already discussed with you. So I think now if I break down the syllabus, okay, if I break down the syllabus, how do I generally approach reasoning from my end is that we approach reasoning in sections. Now, I had given an example in one of my previous orientation sessions also that, sometimes when you have a particular, like the background of something may be same, but the foreground changes. So I had given a classic example of Royal Enfield bikes, okay, or some model cars, basically. What happens is there are enthusiasts out there. I am one of them, don't worry. So no hate. Now, what happens is generally every few months a new bike comes out, or every few years a new model comes up. Students or people are very excited to look at the lineup, that okay, their lineup is huge, it's great, there are multiple models to offer, this, that. But eventually they fail to understand. A lot of people who are not technically sound, they fail to understand that they are operating on the same 3 engines, now maybe 4, right? So some 2, and for a very long time they operated on 2 engines only, right? So one was a 500cc, one was a 350cc. Now they have the 650cc twin cylinders, they have the 400cc engines, they have the 440cc engines, dual toned. So there are a lot of things, there are a lot of aspects involved here. But now if I talk about the earlier models, precisely they had the same engines, they had the same heart. All that was changing was the body. All that was changing were the outside, the gimmicks, the physical appearance, the surface level changes were happening. Now coming back to reasoning here, what exactly happens here is there are sections in reasoning which have the same core, the same heart, the same fundamental principle. But the front end changes. The way the question is portrayed changes. Eventually your brain has to think in a similar way. So we will club those topics together and approach reasoning in that format, right? So section A, logical reasoning. Now let's not go through this. I want to take you through a different route altogether. Okay, so these are all the topics here. I will share this PDF with you, so don't worry about that, but I want to explain it to you in a different sense altogether. Let's just observe that once. So when I talk of logical reasoning, first and foremost, the most important topic becomes pattern recognition. Pattern recognition. This is the most basic part of reasoning where you're going to start. Most of us will start from here only. I will also start from this section mostly. And what happens in this category is the basic principle involved is that you are given certain set of data. Now the data can be in the form of numbers, in the form of letters, in the form of words, anything. You come across that data and you look at that data and you observe and you isolate a hidden pattern which is being followed. Once you get that logic, what you now do is you are given another set of question data where you apply the same logic, you get a corresponding answer and you mark that from the options. That's the basic principle behind this concept. Okay. And what are the common topics? You can see topics like analogy, topics like classification, okay, topics like missing numbers, number series, letter series, coding, decoding. Going forward, somewhat I would say even input-output comes under this category. Input-output seems to be a glorified version of coding, decoding, and etc. So these are the topics which we cover under this category, right? Now we move on to the next category. In the next category, what happens is, now next category is for me is a clubbing of two categories. You will see logical reasoning and image-based reasoning, but I have combined them into one. So a lot of people treat relations and syllogisms very differently, but for me, this category falls into the question type where a certain set of instructions and information is given to you in the question. Okay, certain set of instructions and informations are given to you in the question, and you just go through them. And so because the volume is large, that there may be 5-10 instructions, there may be a few informations, data given to you. Observing them at the same time simultaneously becomes difficult. So what we do is we convert this complete set of information into an image while we are reading the question. So while we are reading the question one by one, we start converting it into an image and finally we get an image. So whatever is written in the question, we can now observe in the image and apply it to solve our question. That's the approach for these kinds of questions. Okay. So what are the questions coming under this category? Image conversion, you can say. Image representation or image conversion questions. Topics like blood relations. Directions. Okay. I also put syllogisms under this category. Similarly, logical Venn diagrams. Puzzles, very important. Sitting arrangement, order based question, etc, etc, etc. Order and comparison, etc, etc. Ranking also up to an extent, right? Basically what we are doing is reading the question, understanding the instructions, converting into an image and then getting the answer. That is what we are doing in this category, right? In the next category we come for mathematical questions. Mathematical or arithmetic based questions. That means these questions are calculation heavy. These questions are calculation heavy. Of course, there may be some concept involved here, but overall it depends on formula, calculation. It's simply about numbers, right? So I will put calendars here, one of the most important topics from a mathematical perspective and very large concept wise. Clocks, again, similar. I will also put mathematical operators here. Okay. From SSC perspective, we put mod based arithmetic also here, but in railways you won't see that a lot. Mod based arithmetic. Okay. So another arithmetic question, sometimes you can see that it is intersecting between the two. It is common between the two, between the quant section and here you can see one or two basic quant level questions here as well, right? Now after this we come to the 3D spatial arrangement. 3D arrangement based question or 3D observation based questions. Now in the reasoning category for the logical reasoning subject, what happens is in a lot of examinations, RRB Group D involving being one of them, you will see that the syllabus actually which is mentioned is very vague in terms of topics. It is never going to mention topic wise what exactly needs to be taught or will be asked. It only mentions general topics or general concepts which are linked with those topics. Okay, what are the skills linked with those topics? That is what they are testing you for. Okay, So one of them is 3D observation. 3D spatial arrangement is what the term which they use, and they just leave it there. Nobody understands what needs to be done. Basically, under these questions, for these questions under this category, what you do is you observe an image, a 3D image. You observe or you imagine a 3D image in your head. It's not given anywhere, and you are making movements, adjustments, shifting, everything. Okay, rotation. You are doing it in your head. Of course, you don't have a 3D image in your hand. You don't have a cube, let's say, in your hand, so you can't rotate and see. So a question is giving you a cube. It is displaying you in the form of 2D. But then it is asking you to move the cube, to look at the back of the cube, to look under the cube, then to move it, then to cut it, then to do a lot of things to it. And then it is asking you questions. So whatever physical motion you're doing, it's not actually transpiring. So it's going on in your head. So you need to be able to visualize that in space. Only then will you be able to answer these questions. And there is a certain technique to it, right? So you need to grab onto that. Topics like cubes, cuboids, and dice, they come under this category exclusively 3D observation based. After that, you have a complete image based, pure image based category, which is non-verbal reasoning. Okay, non-verbal reasoning. Non-verbal means no utilization of words. So that is purely image based. Topics like mirror images, water images, embedded figures, figure series, all those come under this category. Right? Paper cutting, all these topics. Figure series. Right? Now, till now, I think this much syllabus almost everybody is aware of, and everybody has learned it somewhere or the other. They have gone through this, they have learned it, they might have understood it, they might have used it in certain exams. I will, going further on, I will also lay emphasis on the fact that how things have changed over the period of years and how the importance has shifted. So generally, if you look at this topic here, this section used to be one of the most important sections of the reasoning examinations for a very long time. This clubbed with this and a few questions from the other topics as well. But now there is a shift. There is a constant shift being observed. And now they are shifting towards this category, which is critical reasoning and analytical reasoning. Plus, I will also add some miscellaneous topics in this category. Okay. So topics like statement, conclusion, assumption, argument, inference, course of action, cause and effect, assertion and reason, decision making, all these topics come under critical reasoning. In some cases, we also learn about social intelligence, emotional intelligence, and ethical dilemma. But they are not ever asked directly as a theoretical question. They are only asked as scenario-based questions. That if this happens, what would you do? And they have not yet seen them in the RRB Group D exam. But again, they are a part of the evolving syllabus. So why not? Okay. And after that, we also focus on data sufficiency. So this is coming under miscellaneous. There will be a lot of other topics also. I have not mentioned all the topics here. Okay. But this is the basic segregation. And nowadays, this is becoming of paramount importance. So much so that, this in itself is not very easy. This in itself is not very direct. And till now, it was very logic based. You just applied a logic. You understood it, applied it, got your answers. But here it is very thinking enabled. It is very thinking based. You need to have good critical thinking skills in yourself to be able to attempt those questions and understand what is done. There is no short trick which helps you out there. You need to possess those skills, and those skills will be honed over a period of time. It is not going to it's never going to come instantly to you. So this becomes frustrating for a lot of students. Learning a new skill is never easy. So this in itself is a challenging approach. So this also needs to be dealt with in good detail. So we will be, of course, we'll be touching base there. We'll be covering a lot of CR based questions and concepts to make our understanding better and stronger. Now, if I look at trends, patterns, spatial arrangement, I have explained everything to you. Analogies, letter, number, meaning, series, coding, decoding, your spatial relation, blood relation, direction, sense, ranking. I have combined this and logical reasoning. Okay. Then non-verbal, mirror images, cubes and dice, embedded figures, mathematical logic, board mass operation, inequalities, you put them all here. Now, this is what I have also laid stress upon already. So 2022 trend or previous trends used to put a lot of efforts on so simple puzzle based questions, one or two sometimes used to come up, and it used to be direct logic based questions. Okay, but now they are laying more emphasis on the critical aspect of it. Puzzles have also become interesting. They are asking interesting puzzle based questions, though still they are very direct. Puzzles in railway exams are not very complicated. They are still very direct, but they appear to be complicated. Okay, so you need to have that advantage over there where you can use this to your benefit based on options. So a lot of changes have come up. The difficulty curve has actually steepened. It has actually become important. Puzzles and sitting arrangement, the importance is increasing day by day for the railway exams, especially RRB Group D as well. And sometimes you will see that RRB Group D questions are actually more involving, more slightly of a better level than compared to RRB NTPC. That has also happened. So you need specific focus for this. Okay, so high yield or must do first coding decoding series blood relations, because this still holds importance. They have not lost their importance completely. It's just that they have slightly been diluted in terms of the strength of the topics, in terms of the frequency of the topics, but they still hold a lot of value. Okay, then you move on to skill based. So this will give you a momentum. This is going to make you feel that okay, I am there. I think I have understood a lot of concepts and I'm almost there, and I'm able to cover the reasoning very fast. So this will give you confidence. Once you're done with this, you're somewhere midway, you focused on the skill-based ones, Venn diagrams, syllogisms, okay. You can also learn critical reasoning somewhat up to this extent. And then we focus on the differentiators. We focus on those topics, critical reasoning they have put here though, that is going to make a difference. Because see, this much everybody is going to cover very easily. This much a few people will cover. This is the section which majority of the people leave in reasoning. Okay, but now that we have to ace it 100%, this is where you need to be on the peak. You need to cover every aspect in good detail. Okay. This is one of the examples for assumptions and arguments, right? So you often, so there was a question recently where they had given a statement that should 1/3, it was in one of the mocks, I believe, that should 1/3 marks be deducted in competitive exams. Okay, and then there were two arguments presented before it. Now a lot of students have this notion when they're attempting these statement based questions that they are purely, if it is based on the statement, it is going to be correct. If it is not based on the statement, it is going to be incorrect. That is how most of you approach these questions, and that is what is the biggest fallacy which you have, the biggest misconception which you have towards these questions. Exactly what needs to be done is, for every category, for arguments you need to think differently, for assumptions you need to think differently, for conclusions you need to think differently, inferences you need to approach differently, course of action you need to approach differently. Every topic has its own advantage, has its own thought process which you need to have to understand what exactly each keyword emphasizes on and how you need to think about it. So under arguments, I'll just give you a brief that for arguments it is always that you are always detached from the correctability of an argument. See, okay, correctness, sorry, I'm using incorrect vocabulary here. So correctness of the argument. That means the argument need not be correct or incorrect. I'm not focused on that. The argument may be morally right, it may be morally wrong, there may be 10 things to it. But I am only concerned about one thing. Is my argument strong or not? And how will I decide that? So a lot of people then again fall into another misconception that arguments those support the statements are strong and arguments those weaken the statements are weak. No, that's also not right. Arguments which support the statements are for, arguments which do not support or are against. So arguments which do not support the statements are against, which is fine. For argument and against argument, both can be strong at the same time. How is that? So you need to understand that there is a differentiator between them being strong or weak versus them being correct or incorrect. So I'll just give you a brief example. It's like in a court of law. In a court of law, when somebody is a neutral judge, okay, how do they take a decision? If they were always like, I'm going to take a field-based decision, I feel that if I look at the face of this person, he looks like a criminal, I need to punish him. Oh, that guy is saying he's a criminal, then I definitely must punish him. Oh, he has come down to tell us that he's a criminal, we should definitely punish him. But this takes away the human rights of that person to defend himself. Because it is all based on your assumption as a judge. So to stay neutral, what do judges do? They ask two lawyers to present arguments. Right? It is precisely that. They present arguments. The arguments are strong or weak basis on what supportive statements they have with themselves. They are known as premises. So if arguments have a strong premise, that means if somebody is presenting an argument with a very strong supporting statement, with some facts, with some reports, with some results attached to prove what they are saying is an argument, it holds more credibility. Whereas on the other hand, if the arguments are weak, they're vague, they are comparative arguments. That means somebody is saying that, oh, because it happened there also, it is supposed to happen here also. They are arguments based on chronology, that okay, at 10 a.m. this happened, 10:10 a.m. this happened, 10:15 a.m. this happened, so probably 10:20 this had to happen. No, this is not a very strong argument, this is a weak argument. So this is how you decide the strength. And for a neutral judge, what happens is when two lawyers present their cases, the lawyer with more number of strong arguments, obviously the case moves towards that person. Right? So that is how cases are decided. So that is why sometimes, obviously, the disadvantage here becomes that sometimes even if a person is innocent, because of strong arguments being presented by the opposition, they end up winning the case and the innocent person probably becomes a scapegoat. But anyways, keeping the judiciary aside, what I wanted to lay emphasis was on this is how you approach arguments. But for you are only having a simple process that read the statement. If it is relating to the statement, it is a strong argument. If it is against the statement, it's a weak argument. That's not how it works. So have that clear in your head. This is one of the examples of critical reasoning. I have plethora of things to tell you, to discuss with you about. So when we will come back to this concept, this topic, the syllabus, I'll discuss them in detail with you so that you are more aligned with the reasoning aspect of it and you are more confident about it. Okay, of course, for the reasoning section, apart from your concept, apart from your understanding, apart from your practice, what is also important are short tricks. Now, while we are covering the topics, definitely there will be short tricks given to you. Everything will be assigned, everything will be informed, instructed, delivered. But apart from that, there are certain tricks which are applicable in multiple topics. One of them is option elimination and how to thoroughly apply it. See, a lot of people say you need to eliminate through options, but nobody actually shows you how that can be done in a particular scenario. And the more you tend to do it, the more you grab the line of thought. I'm not saying to ape what I do in the classes, but I'm asking you that this is how you start thinking. And once you develop that line of thought, what is going to happen is you are going to come up with your own methods of option elimination, because option elimination is not limited to one method alone. It is not limited to unit digit only. Okay. There are multiple approaches to it, how smartly you can handle things. Like for mensuration questions, where the formula involves pi, a lot of people fail to understand this, that you can simply check divisibility by 11 because pi has 22 by 7. If the question is not mentioned 3.14, if you're approaching it with 22 by 7, most probably the unit is being multiplied by 11. So the answer is going to be a multiple of 11. This is one of the tricks which you can use. One of the tricks, right? So similarly in reasoning, you have a lot of options. For ranking, you can once understand that there are tricks, but more than tricks, there are visual cues, that if in question this is given, it has to imply this. In dice, there are visual cues. Apart from the concept, you can just see that if ever this question is asked, this has to be the answer always. And once you are comfortable with those, your process becomes much smoother and much faster, right? So that is what we need to aim for. Okay. So, of course, understanding the pattern, mastering the anchor, that is the reasoning section. We are adapting to the new trends, the changes, we have already discussed those, and we're executing them with speed. This is exactly what I've discussed right now. So this has to be your strategy, and this is not only for RRB Group D. I would say if you are sitting for some other exam also, this has to be your approach strategy. What is only going to change is the importance of topics. In some cases, Railways has a very different approach to number series, to missing numbers, as compared to, let's say, SSC examinations. They approach it very differently now. So your approach towards certain topics is going to change when you're going to, when you're going to approach an examination. But generally, your preparation now has to be comprehensive. It has to be foundation oriented. It has to be focused on the core of the subject rather than on the examination alone. Anyways, that's enough for today. Thank you so much for watching me till here. Thank you so much for staying tuned. I told you I won't stretch this session for a very long time, but generally we are going to have full length 1 hour sessions where we will discuss the topic, discuss the concept, delve deep. We will also practice wherever necessary to be able to enable you to master the reasoning section completely. Thank you so much for watching till here, guys. I'll see you around in the next session. Till then, you guys take care. Bye bye. Namaskar. Jai Hind.